Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very pleased to have with me Linn Rivers, and let me tell you a little bit about Linn. She is able to connect with people on a wide range of traumatic events that she herself had to overcome, such as death of family members and a partner, abandonment, neglect, sexuality, growing up with an alcoholic, relationship trauma, homelessness, career challenges, lack of direction, feeling of hopelessness, gender identity, anger and fear, addiction, illness, and near-death experiences. So if she didn't cover something that's bothering you now, we'll probably still be able to cover it. So sit back and listen. No matter if any of these events took place as a child or later in life, Linn has the tools to assist you in moving forward, to create the new reality, and to live the life you absolutely deserve. Today, I thought our theme should be holistic health and its role in being successful. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Linn Rivers. Hey, Linn.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on today.
You're welcome. It's such an important topic, and we'll get into that, but I always ask the simple first question, which is just tell everybody where you live.
I am in San Diego, California.
Oh, one of my most favorite places. Yes, I spent years going back and forth from Atlanta to there as I was launching the UPS store.
Oh, wow.
MBE, which became the UPS store, is headquarters in San Diego. So
Amazing.
I spent 4 days a week for almost 5 years.
Oh, so you know it well.
I do. I made sure I visited the ocean every time I went there too.
Yes.
So we gave a brief bit about your background, sort of like cliff notes, highlights, taglines to draw you in, but I'd love for you just to really share some more of your backstory. Tell us just what this journey has been like for you that's brought you to where you are today.
Absolutely. So first off, where I am today is I am a functional health and wellness expert, and I help people overcome chronic health conditions and mental disorders of many different kinds. And what brought me here is I started off my journey very rough. The first 30 plus years of my life were pretty tumultuous, inconsistent. And I started off with pneumonia when I was 1 and 3, which really actually instilled a lot of fear because of the way my parents would say, I love you at that age. Our bodies are only absorbing the feelings that are actually coming off of the words. And so I took it as fear. And so I had a fear of the word love my entire childhood. And I lost the majority of my family before I was 15 years old. The rest followed fairly soon after. And I had asthma my entire childhood. I was in and out of the hospitals. My father was an alcoholic. I had gender identity issues when I was 3 years old. It lasted up until I was 18 and really understood not having to, try to fit myself inside any social norm. I'm a human. That's all that really matters. And yeah, and it just kind of progressed. And I was really sick in my 20s with a lot of hormonal imbalances. I had immense depression. I was suicidal. I had horrible toxic relationships because I was trying to follow the emotionally abusive patterns that I've known, throughout the majority of my life. And I had trouble because I was always so sick. I had trouble actually keeping jobs. I couldn't work consistently. And I found myself homeless at one point, and I was living on the floor of an office space that a friend of mine had pointed out. And it was in that moment that I found one of the deepest senses of trust that I was going to be okay, because I finally realized I was in charge of my life. And it was that moment and a couple of near-death experiences later that I really took charge of my life and understood what it meant to create my reality and really take charge of my health. And my educational background includes holistic nutrition, functional medicine, massage therapy, spiritual counseling, the whole 9 yards. I really dove into understanding what it meant to be human, what we actually need to be aware of as far as our body's concerned and our mental space, and how can we live the best existence possible. And so it was through that education, and the last 5 years of functional medicine really helped ground me into this life and really solidify why I was sick and how to get better. And I had to do my own research, because no matter which doctor I went to, they could not give me an answer, whether it was Western or Eastern or functional medicine of any kind. They weren't able to fill in the pieces for me. So I had to learn to do it myself. And in doing so, I accumulated so much useful knowledge that everyone can use. And that is what I'm doing now. I'm sharing what helped me overcome all these chronic conditions and how to move forward and actually live a fulfilling life.
Yes. And it's so important, to not settle for, oh, well, the doctors say they can't do anything for me, or, I've taken everything I can think of or be told, and I still am not living the fullest life. And I think, life is to be enjoyed, and we need to do all we can. And if we can do it holistically, it's so much better, so much better.
Right. And I mean, there's the point there that if you're not doing it holistically, you're not finding the root cause. So you're not actually going to progress and getting better. You're going to continue adding to the elements.
Right.
Yeah.
So you shared, and in your bio, we shared the trauma and the impact it has on our physical. And, even whenever I work with people on their fear of public speaking, there is trauma that's all the root cause of that, from a lot of times from very, very young. So that affects your physical, it sure affects your mental well-being. And so in what you do, how can you help the people move past that trauma? And please explain, if you will, the time that it takes. I think a lot of people think, just like with the doctors, give me one pill and tomorrow I'll feel better. But explain the, I don't know, evolution of what it takes to get from that trauma to the space where you're okay again.
This has been one of the biggest topics coming up lately in my interviews, and it's one that I love touching on. And so I'm going to go a little bit deep into this. First off, there are two different aspects of healing trauma. One is understanding it and seeing that you experienced it. You have to know where you've been in order to move through it. And the other part that a lot of people do not talk about is the fact that your physical well-being has a huge impact on how you get over those traumas. Because a lot of people think that traumas are what are causing the emotional responses that keep coming up. However, if you have a dysbiotic gut, our gut microbiome is so powerful and so potent to everything that we do in our lives. It's literally linked to over 88% of disease at this point can be traced back to our gut microbiome. And when your gut microbiome is out of balance, everything else goes awry in your system as well. And that includes your mental capacities and your ability to process information and your ability to remain grounded. And a lot of times it'll be our vagus nerve that is actually setting off that fight or flight. system where we think it's the traumatic events that we're just reliving. But the reality is, if our body is in balance and we're no longer having that constant upheaval happening, we can sit and examine what we went through with so much more gentleness and compassion and understanding, and actually being able to see ourselves moving forward. So for myself, I did every modality that you can imagine to release the traumas when I was in my 20s, early 20s. I did yoga therapy, talk therapy, somatic movement, everything you can imagine to move the trauma out of the system. That's what we talk about it as. And while those are extremely beneficial, and I would never tell anyone to not do those, because you have to do it, it's a symbiotic process. You want to be doing this as much as you're working on the physical being. And when you work on them together, you can really come back into a more grounded space quickly. You can understand and grasp everything on a much deeper level and not have it take you down. Because for myself, I always thought that my emotional triggers and having outbursts of any kind, whether it was a depressive episode or an aggressive outburst where I just felt irritable all of a sudden, I would always think, oh, it must be because of this experience I had and it's just coming up, because that's what we're taught. We're taught that these things are going to keep coming up. When I got my body in check and I actually was healthy on a physical level, those things no longer had a charge. I was no longer being set off. I was no longer having these crying episodes. And that was the pinpoint for me where I was like, there's something to this. And so I started working with my clients, because at that point I was working in yoga therapy and more of a spiritual counseling aspect and just helping them navigate it and doing the consistent talk back, right? Where we're reflecting and helping them bring it up and bring it to the surface. And it was at that point where I realized I'm going to start working on their body and getting their body in health and see what happens. I would have people coming back to me where they could sit with me and they would ask, is this how I'm supposed to feel on a regular basis? Like, am I supposed to be this calm? And it was a shocking factor for the majority of my clients at the time, because they had never been that calm in their life. And I knew that exact feeling. I was on constant fight or flight the majority of my life. And then I come into this health aspect and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that this is how I can be regularly. I can be healthy and I can be calm and peaceful and not be triggered by every situation that happens outside of me. And so that was really the big turning point. So I like people to know that you really do need to understand yourself on all levels. You need to know what's happening in your body physically, how to take care of your health, how to know what your triggers are and where those triggers are coming from. So that way, when you are in a healthy body, you can sit and understand those and move forward away from them and not constantly dwell on those situations. It's a mind, body, spirit approach, and we can't ignore one or the other. We have to come into alignment with who we truly are and to sit with ourselves and know ourselves deeply. It's the most beautiful gift that you can give yourself.
So very true. And, I think whenever, I guess it was in my 50s where I started to really focus on my gut and gut health and all that. And then later in my 50s, I became a wellness, I sell wellness products, but the one product is a pre and a probiotic. And you're so right. Once my gut got in order, things that would stress me out no longer did. I just really could be calm. And it's funny, I was a project manager at the time, and they were putting me on projects because I could keep everyone else calm because I didn't start to sweat the small stuff. And I think people, they just don't think about that, especially as you get in your very busy world and everything's going on. I always have people come on talk about self-care, but I think we forget about that. We think that our focus, somehow our body will take care of itself, but that's just not the case. And it does impact mentally, physically, and emotionally. Like when you feel like crap, you feel like crap. I mean, it's like and everyone around you is not happy either.
Exactly.
So how do you have this holistic health being playing that major role in being successful as a leader, as a mom, as a coworker? How is paying attention to that, the holistic part, important?
So it all comes back to the fact that if you want to get better, you need to get to the root cause of everything. And that is what holistic means. It means to uncover the whole being, right? And utilize holistic approaches to healing your body. And I think we live in a society where everyone wants the quick fix. They want to be given a pill and they want everything to just go away. And the problem is they're doing this and they're going to the doctors and they're saying, hey, I have these symptoms, and the doctors are, great, here, take this. And sure, their symptoms might lessen at that point, but what they fail to realize is that same pill is going to cause a slew of other symptoms later down the road. And unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industries know this. They know that certain pills that they put out on the market, they already know the consequences of what these are going to cause. And they pull them 3 years later saying like, oh, we found that these are causing XYZ. And so then they put another pill out on the market. They know these things before they release them, right? And there's a lot of people who have come out of the pharmaceutical industries and exposed these truths. And so it's not like we're just like a conspiracy theory. It's people are talking about this. And so people, when they're in that realm of, let me just take a pill, it'll feel better, they're not seeking to get better. And unfortunately, it's going to catch up with them. So if you want to have a happy family and you're not taking care of yourself, you can expect yourself to progressively get worse later down the road. And then you're really going to have to look at your health. And I think a lot of people, it does take the universe to slap them in the face a little bit. I know I had to get to that point. And I do feel that that's one of it's part of being human. I really do think for a lot of people, it does take an extreme point to get there. However, now with all the tools, people can be proactive. They don't have to get to the extreme extent that I did in order to take action, right? So it's one of those things where when you use a holistic approach, you set yourself up for more success in the future. And it's success in all areas of your life. Because like we were saying earlier, if you're not healthy and you don't feel well, you're not going to be able to do other things in your life. Like I literally could not work. I could not go out and play. I didn't have friends because I didn't have the energy or the time to do that, because everything was taking, oh, I need to fix this, I need to do this. Everything was just all about healing. And that's what happens. It gets to a point where your whole existence becomes feeling better. And so when you can take the proactive step and actually use the holistic approach and learn about your body, which is why I'm creating the course that I am, is because you can really do so much more with your life. There are people who are running themselves down in their business. They work 50, 60 hours a week, and that's the lower end for some people. And they just constantly go, go, go. And they say, oh, well, I'll be fine. I'll take care of myself once XYZ is done. And then that time never comes. And then they don't have the energy or health to do anything other than work past that point, right? So it really comes down to understanding that the more successful you are physically, the more successful you're going to be for yourself in other areas and your family down the line, to actually be a grandmother who's able to play with her grandkids and not one who's walking around in a wheelchair or anything of that sort.
Yeah. And we were talking about the elderly, me, that's at 50. That was when I realized, okay, I'm going to be a grandma soon. And so let's take care of things. So in my 60s, now I can run after my 4 and 8-year-old grandsons. But, let's just talk a little bit about the 30-year-old that's climbing the corporate ladder, male or female, although I try to help the females, but who are on Prilosec and things like that because stress is eating away at their stomachs, and not finding out, okay, how can I deal with this acid that's in my stomach, if you will, in a holistic way. And I love that you talk about the root cause, because so many times we put all these band-aids, if you will, on top of things that we don't even know what the heck we're trying to fix anymore, because there's so many layers of stuff that's hiding the root.
Yes. And one of the first things I like to talk about there is the fact that when you go to the hospital and they diagnose you with something, any condition, those conditions that they're diagnosing you with, they are not diseases. They're symptoms of a root cause being there's something out of balance in your body. And those are the symptoms that are showing like, hey, something's off. They're not actually diseases. The medical system is set to get rid of symptoms, to mask the symptoms. They're not sent, they're not sent to you to actually heal and to get better. They're just masking symptoms. So when you have any disease, it does not matter. It's your body saying, hey, I'm out of balance. I need you to stop for a minute and I need you to check in on me and let's figure out what's going on. Right. And so it's unfortunately, I like to mention that as a functional medicine practitioner, I was charging people $3,000 for the visit because of all the testing that goes into it and all the information that they need to have in order to get better. But a lot of people don't have that kind of money. So they don't have access to this information. And so that's why I created the course and pre-launched it for $50 because I want people to have access to the information that they need to get better. Why do you have high stomach acid? Or why do you think you actually have high stomach acid versus the fact that you probably have low stomach acid because most people have low stomach acid? And why is this happening? What are the certain foods doing in your body? A lot of people don't know that even the chemical compounds in plants can have a really adverse effect on your system. There's a lot of things that people just don't know about and no one's talking about them. And the only reason I know about them is because I had to find my own answers because no one else was able to. So I had to dive into the research that not a lot of people are. And so it really comes back to those, when you're in your 30s and you realize something's wrong, stop and give yourself the space to ask questions. Why is this happening? What do I need to do? And don't just keep pushing forward because it really comes back down to the fact that we are vibrational and we're frequencies. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's a scientific thing that we are energy. And how you are vibrating is what you are attracting. So if you are not well and you are not centered, not only are you emanating that to other people around you, but that is also what you're attracting back in. So when you take that to work and you're unhealthy and you're just pushing through and you're not your best self, those are the situations that you're going to bring back into your reality because you're not in your highest self and you're not centering that. Something as simple as even just when you're realizing like, okay, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now and I'm about to step into a meeting. Even if you have to walk in and say, give me 5 minutes, I need to do something. You go and you sit and you find your breath and you find your center. They're such simple tools that you can use. But the core of it is getting down and understanding your health because my book that I'm writing is called Your Health Sets the Tone. If you do not have a healthy body, that is going to emanate in every other aspect of your life.
Very true. Well, we are just zooming by here. We could spend probably 2 days on this. Definitely have to have you on one of my retreats for sure. So why we have people that rather than seeking advice, and I know like modern medicine and insurance doesn't afford people the opportunity, as you said, they're limited in their budgets, especially if the older folks that have had years of being misdiagnosed, if you will. But they're rather than seeking help, they just are happy being a victim. So what do you tell those people? How do you get past that victim mentality to be able to allow them to see how they can help themselves?
So I think the most beautiful thing that I've learned through this entire process is that you cannot help those who do not want to be helped. And there are just some people who they're not going to hear you no matter what. They're happy in their space. And there is a reason we have massive cleanups in this world. And that's because those energies have to be shuffled out. And with that being said, those people are going to continue doing the same thing that they're doing. However, if you are listening to a podcast, that means that you have the capacity and the knowing to actually take steps forward. There's a lot of people who will listen to this and they're like, well, this sounds great, but, and they'll come up with excuses. Now's the chance to say, no more excuses. Like you're not a victim to society. You are creating your own reality. And if you want to make a change, take a step. All it takes is one simple step every single day. It doesn't matter how big, but as long as you're doing even micro shifts, you're going to eventually get to where you want to be. So if you want to lose weight, start figuring out your steps. If that means even walking for more, 10 minutes more a day, take that small step. Just continue pushing forward. No more excuses. We come up with everything under the sun of reasons why we can't do something, but instead use those excuses as to why you can do something. Always keep it in the positive context. And it's not about positive affirmations. It's about positive reframing, being able to really see the future you. And if that future you looks bright, fantastic. If you look 5 years from now and you think like, oh my God, I can't be in the same position again, then you know that you need to take a step right now, because 5 years from now will come quicker than you think.
Yeah, it will. And the small steps just do add up. I mean, it's you look back and you think, oh gosh, but if you only want to try to climb Mount Everest in one step, you're not going to be successful. You'll fail for sure. Just one, you talked a minute ago about your book. When's the book coming out?
The book is my second project. Since I'm still in pre-launch with the course, that is I'm getting that rolled out for early February. It's in pre-launch right now though, so people can get it at a really low price. But once that's done, that's when the book will start really rolling out. So yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to have you out when you're launching your book too, to
Fantastic.
just have you come back again. All right. If you have been intrigued, interested, excited, and want to know more of how to connect with Linn, I am going to share my screen now. So if you're just listening, you should go quickly run and grab that paper and pencil. And as always, you can get this information from my show notes on YouTube. Please subscribe. And my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. You can go to her website, which is linnrivers.com. That's linnrivers.com, linnrivers.com. On LinkedIn, you can find her at Linn-Rivers, and YouTube, Linn Rivers, all one word. Again, the website is linnrivers.com. I'm going to let Linn talk to you about what you can find when you go on that website, and a little bit more about how you can get to that course.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, again, that's www.linnrivers.com. I actually have a very simple link that you can find. It's a big button that says pre-launch to, it's called Chronic Illness to Vibrant Wellness. And it is a no excuse price of $50 right now. And you will learn everything from functional medicine, how your cells function under certain foods, plant chemicals and how they can affect your body, leaky gut dysbiosis in general, your neurotransmitters and how they affect the rest of your body as well, and really overcoming self-limiting beliefs as well. It's mind, body, and spirit. It's 15 years of education and research, and also self-trial and error with myself and clients. And so I stand behind my course 100%. Even if you walk away with one thing from it, it's worth the $50, especially all of the tips I give you that are easy to implement. So I highly suggest reaching out on the website, find that link, and sign up. It's in pre-launch right now. And I have a community platform that I am actually opening up tonight, where you can talk with people from all over the world who have already bought the pre-launch product and get to know others who are on their healing journey too.
Awesome. Again, please go to linnrivers.com and take advantage of this great offer that she has. And if it's you're watching one of this as a repost or whatever, then you go to that community, because you'll have a lot of experienced people that can give you feedback. Linn, it's been just great chatting with you. I had enjoyed the conversation. There's, so many people that I know that can benefit from what you're doing, and having a parent who definitely has gone down that path that has not been successful, and definitely know that what you're talking about is very, very much a great way to handle your health. And so I'm so happy that you're an advocate for all those out there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate being here with you.
As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.